Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everybody. I am Dr. Amjad and I am your instructor for the course of Advances in Human Resource Development and Management. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. I have completed my Bachelor of Business Administration from Bauddin Zakariya University, Multan in 1998. Then I completed my Master of Business Administration from the same university in year 2000. Then I started working for a private sector organization at Gujranwala, where I have served for 3 years. Then I started pursuing my PhD by seeking a scholarship from Higher Education Commission, Pakistan. I completed my PhD from Foundation University, Islamabad in 2009. After that, I have served for a couple of years at a private university at Peshawar. Then later on, I have joined ComSet's Institute of Information Technology, Ahmedabad in year 2011. Let me give you the course objectives for this course, Advances in Human Resource Management and Development. Well, this course comprises of 2 sections. In first section, we would be discussing some of the functions of human resource management. It may include introduction of human resource management. It includes job analysis. It includes recruitment and selection. We would also be discussing training and development, and as well as some of the advanced functions of human resource management. In the second part, we would be discussing some of the functions that are related with human resource development. Here we would be discussing how to conduct training need analysis, how to design training interventions, how to develop training intervention, and how to deliver some of the training programs. And finally, we would be discussing some of the methods to evaluate the training interventions. Here we would also be discussing how to go through the employee development and organization development interventions. This was all about the introduction or course objectives of this course, that is MGT712. Now let us start with the lecture 1. These are the slides shows the objectives for lesson 1. Here we would be discussing what is HRM. We would also be covering why HRM is important for all managers in the organization. We will discuss human resource management and company performance. We would be discussing the objectives of this human resource function or human resource department. Then we would be discussing some of the activities or responsibilities of human resource management. In the end, we would be discussing some of the skills of HRM professionals. Now, starting with the course, and first of all, let us discuss what is human resource management. Well, students, human resource, any organization is actually composed of people. No organization can work without people. It is an integral part of any organization. Well, human resource management is actually dealing with the human aspect of the organization. The definition of human resource management is that it is the design of formal systems in an organization to ensure the effective and efficient use of human talent to accomplish the organizational and individual goals. Well, as per the definition of HRM, it would include some of the formal systems, well, formal systems of an organization may comprise of some of the selection methods. It may comprise of training methods. It may comprise of different policies and manuals of human resources. Well, all of these formal systems or practices are there in order to ensure that organization is able to use the human talent in an effective and efficient way for the purpose of accomplishing or achieving the organizational and individual goals. Well, the human resource management is there within an organization for the achievement of organizational goal. Well, we cannot say that HRM is only concerned for the achievement of organizational goals. Well, it would also be required to achieve the individual goals. It means that if employees are not satisfied, organization would not be able to achieve its overall goals. So the focus of human resource management is binary, is two-way. The focus of human resource management is two-way. It is to achieve organizational goal as well as to achieve individual goals by making them satisfied workers. Because if employees are not satisfied, then no organization can achieve its goals in any fashion. Efficient utilization of human resource management implies that we are doing the things right. Well, this definition also entails that we should be able to use this human resource talent in an effective way. It means that we are to do the right things. So there is a difference between doing the things right and doing the right things. Well, the difference between effective and efficient utilization of human resources says that we can also define human resource management in another way. Well, human resource management is it comprises of policies, practices, and systems that influence employees' behavior, attitude, and performance to achieve organizational objectives. Well, the placement of all of the human resource policies, practices, and systems is that it actually enables, it actually affects the behavior of employees, their attitude, and finally their performance in order to make them to achieve organizational objectives. Well, this was all about the definition of human resource management. Well, how we can further elaborate this HRM? This HRM is action oriented. Well, all of the human resource management would be comprising of different policies, procedures, manuals. Well, all of these things do actually involve record keeping or something accounting related activities. Well, HRM is not all about recording or bookkeeping of any human resource activity. Well, it is actually action oriented. Before we are going to record any of the human resources or human talent, this human resource department is actually action oriented. Instead of simply keeping the books and taking the records or giving the details of the human resource, the HRM department is responsible to take actions in any respect. It is to hire people, it is to actually train and develop employees, it is to deal with the labor unions, it is to decide about, it is to take decisions regarding the promotion or transfer of employees. So we cannot say that HRM is only meant for bookkeeping. It is actually action oriented. It should be action oriented. Well, we cannot say that HRM is also HRM is actually related with strategies, policies, or systems that are in place to manage the human resources of an organization. Well, we cannot say that HRM is to take the organizational point of view. It is to take the point of view of people at any conflict, at any disagreement. The HRM department would be taking the individual view of the employees. Well, it is to take the decisions from perspective of the individuals by keeping keeping into focus the needs, the motives, and the priorities of the employees. Well, at different points of disagreement, at all the points of disagreement, this HRM is required to take actions from the perspective of employees, not from the perspective of the groups or perspective of the departments or from the point of view of the organization. It is actually, HRM is meant for the satisfaction or motivation of individual employees within an organization. It may be done by any way, by actually taking different decisions related with compensation, related with the administration of benefits. It may be related with any sort of hiring or selection decisions. So the second characteristics of HRM is that it is actually people oriented. The third characteristics of HRM is that it is actually future oriented. Well, HRM is not meant for the achievement of current objectives of the organization. This HRM is responsible, or HRM would be actually supporting the organization to achieve the long-term goals of an organization. So HRM would be actually seeing the organization that how in future this organization would be able to achieve its goals. So HRM would also be HRM would always be required to select people and train people and develop people so that they are able to perform the jobs that organization would be required to perform at some later point in time. So any sort of changes that are taking place in the environment or from the competition, it may be from any side of the regulatory bodies. So HRM would be required to tackle with all these sort of changes by providing the efficient, talented, and motivated human resources in order to tackle that change. So these are the characteristics of human resource management, that it is actually action oriented, HRM is people oriented, and HRM is future oriented. Well, now we are going to discuss the importance of human resource management for the managers of an organization. We can say that HRM is important for all of the managers in an organization. Well, managers are required to avoid different mistakes that are related with employees or related with personnel. So nobody or no manager can afford any mistake. It may be a lawsuit on the company from any of the employee. It may be a person, incapable person selected by the organization. It may be the dissatisfied workforce of an organization. It may be poorly trained employees of an organization that are not able to perform the jobs that are required by the organization. The principles or the concept of human resource management is necessary for all of the managers that are working for an organization, because all of the managers are actually involved in different decisions that are purely human resource management, that are purely come into the domain of human resource management. These decisions are related with the recruitment of employees. These are related with the selection of employees by taking interviews. These are related with the decision to finalize a selection of any of the employee. These decisions may be related with the training and development of employees, and the decisions that are related with the performance appraisal of employees. So virtually all of the managers are actually involved in the human resource related decisions that are purely in the domain of HR. So we can say that no manager can be an effective leader within an organization until unless that person has a good knowledge or has a good know-how within human resource management. So because these managers are actually involved in all of the human resource related activities, so they should be having good knowledge of human resource management, how to make final selection decision, how to train employees, and how to appraise employees. So these the knowledge of all of these areas would be actually contributing positively to the performance of any of the manager, irrespective of the department of that manager. This department may be the marketing department, this manager may be working in the production department, this manager may be involved in the management of inventory, this person may be involved in the development of products. So ideally any manager within an organization should be having sound knowledge related with the human resource activities. Well, HRM is important for all of the manager in an organization. This can also be supported by the fact that managers may move from staff position to from line position to staff position and vice versa. Students, first of all, we are to make ourselves clear that what is a line manager and who is a line manager and who is a staff manager. Well, the distinction may be made clear from the perspective of authority. How we can define authority. Well, students, authority is the right of any manager to direct other employees and to place orders. Well, authority is of two types. It is, we can say the authority is, there is line authority and there is staff authority. Well, line authority is to be exercised by the managers who are employed in the technical departments. These departments are actually production, these departments are sales department as well as marketing department, because the functions of these departments are essential for the survival of the organization. So these the orders placed by the managers who are working in the line departments or technical departments have priority over the orders placed by the managers of other departments, that we can say support department. So HRM is actually a support department that is there in order to facilitate or in order to support the work or performance of performance of the technical departments. So there is actually a priority for line staff or line manager, that the orders given by a line manager, the order given by the line manager cannot be superseded by the order of the staff manager. Actually, staff managers are there in order to support and facilitate the work of these line managers who are actually placed in the technical departments. These are production department, sales department and marketing department. Well, the people who are actually employed in human resource management, in legal department, administration department, these may be in the advertisement department. So these are actually working for the organization in order to support the work of these technical departments or line departments. So there we are saying that there are two types of authority: line authority and staff authority. So staff authority is actually is exercised by the managers or by the people who are working in the human resource management department. So in reality, managers who are working in marketing department or the managers who are working in production department or some other department may be transferred to some of the staff department like HRM. So it is necessary for all of the managers to have some knowledge related with human resource activities of human resource management. Well, this here we have actually studied that how HRM is important for all of the managers employed by an organization. Now we are going to discuss how human resources and company performance is related. Well, we have said that no organization is there without people. Actually, all of the organizations are comprised of people who are working for them. Actually, organizations are distinguished, or organization can be differentiated based upon the people who work for these organizations. There are organizations that have very satisfied and motivated workforce who actually outperform the other organizations. So each and every organization actually tries to have human resources that can perform in a better way than the competitors. So students, there is a question that whether human resources, whether people who are working for an organization are an expense or it is a source of value. So what do you think? Ideally, we cannot say that it is an expense. Actually, it is an investment. It is a resource. We can say that student employees are actually resource of an organization. We cannot say it is expense for an organization, because organization actually fail or succeed because of the human resources that they have employed. So the better human resources that are possessed by an organization would be actually causing this organization or facilitating this organization to achieve its organization objectives in a superior way than the competitors. Well, by taking human resources as an investment, we can say that there is enormous importance of human resource, and now this concept has been actually introduced within organization by the concept of human capital. Actually, before discussing this human capital, let me say this, that there are organizations that have actually gone for human resource accounting. They may give actually different values in monetary terms to the human resources that they actually employ. It may be different sports club, football club, it may be rugby club, or it may be different cricket clubs that are working in IPL or some other organization like these. So and human capital is an advanced concept than this human resource accounting. Actually, human capital is an organization's employees that are described in totality in terms of their training, their experience, their judgment, their intelligence, relationships and insights. So by taking into account all of these characteristics or attributes of the human resource of an organization, so we can see that how much difference, how much profound difference an organization can make based upon its human resources on the other organizations. So actually we can see that it is human resources, actually it is human resources of an organization that actually determine the success or failure of an organization, because human resources have with themselves their training in different areas, diverse functional departments. It may be they may be having experience of different industries, experience of different organization. Well, humans of an organization or employees of an organization can bring a lot of value by their judgment, by guessing the changes that are taking place within an organization, or by actually inculcating the new technological advancements into the functions of an organization. Well, employees can contribute enormously by actually introducing their intelligence into the day-to-day or into the strategic function, human resources can play a vital role by showing their intelligence in terms of deciding or taking decisions that are related to some of the routine activities, or they may actually use their intelligence to decide about strategic direction of an organization. Well, human resources can play a very positive role or very profound role by actually introducing their relationships when they are actually dealing with the competitors, dealing with the vendors, dealing with suppliers, dealing with financial institutes. So their relationships with the industry, relationship with the competitors, relationship with the government agencies, relationship with the regulatory bodies may play a very positive role. Well, in the same vein, we can actually take the concept of insight, that the insight into different changes that are taking place within the environment may be received or may be accepted in a positive or in a synergetic way by the way of the insight of the human resources. Well, the human resource management and company performance also related, because we can see that these employees are not easily interchangeable. Employees cannot be replaced very easily as other parts of the system can be replaced. Technologies may be replaced, policies may be replaced, vendors may be replaced. We can also replace the financial institutions. We can actually change any. We can actually introduce any sort of change, but it becomes a little bit difficult to introduce a change that is actually related with the human resources. Well, we can say that human resource management is important for the performance of company, because we know an organization by the way that who performs for this organization and how these people work for an organization. So we actually know Microsoft by the name of Bill Gates. We used to know this Apple company by the name of Steve Jobs, and we used to know this General Electronics by the name of Jack Welch. Actually, these are the leaders of these are the leaders of these organizations that I have mentioned here, and actually it is because of the contribution of these people that the organizations like Microsoft, like Bill Gates, like Google, like Intel, they have progressed leaps and bounds, and they are at top of the list. Well, we are to discuss that concept and the topic human resource performance and human resource management and company performance by the help of this slide. That human resource management is actually is responsible in two directions. This is actually the type of human capital. Here we are seeing that training, experience, judgment, intelligence, relationship, and insight of the people. And at the lower side of this slide, there is human behavior of human capital. So actually HRM is responsible to make an efficient and effective utilization of its human capital by the way of motivating its workforce and by actually making their workforce to exert a high level of effort. So actually here is what is important is the motivation of its human capital and the effort, the level of effort that are exerted by the human capital of any organization. Well, the type of human capital are different characteristics of human capital, and the way this human capital is managed by this human resource management. So the way they are actually influencing the human capital would be translated into organization performance on this side. This is organization performance. Well, organization performance can be measured in different terms. It may be quality of its products and services, it may be the overall profitability of the organization, and it may be the customer satisfaction of for this organization. Well, organization performance may also be measured by the employee satisfaction. So it actually depends upon human resource management that how it actually makes use of this human capital. how it actually exploits its human capital by the way of motivation and efforts, by combining or by actually exerting an effort to motivate its human resources, and by actually influencing the human resources to perform, to exert efforts at a high level. So all the human resource management is actually responsible for management of human capital by the way of motivating and actually influencing their efforts, and all of this would be actually translated into organizational performance. So here we can say that the performance of any of the organization is actually an outcome of the activities of human resource management. So the way human resource management performs its activities, it would be directly translated into the performance of this organization. Well, we cannot deny that there are other functional departments. It is production, it is marketing, it is finance department, very much important. But here we are not going to deny the importance of any of the functional department in an organization. But we can see examples of various organizations that collapsed, that failed because of the unavailability of talented or capable human resources. But we cannot see any idea or any venture that is stopped because of lack of financial resources. So we can see that it has some edge over finance department, in the sense that we can arrange finances in any way, but it becomes very much difficult if you need talented and capable and motivated and well-trained human resources. And the moment you have with yourself all of these human resources, then you will have to actually make an efficient and effective utilization of this human resources or human capital that you have within your organization. Well, this human capital can be translated into sustainable competitive advantage that is actually necessary for any organization in order to survive within the competition, in order to survive within the industry, and all of the organizations are required to produce or offer its products and services in a superior way that cannot be met by any of the competitors. So sustainable competitive advantage is actually necessary by any organization. So an organization can achieve this competitive advantage by any mechanism. An organization may achieve competitive advantage through production or through its unique type of products, through its technological advanced products. It may actually have its competitive advantage by the marketing, by the way it markets its products and services. It may different organization may go for the achievement of competitive advantage based upon its supply chain. Means that different organization may achieve its competitive advantage over the rivals by making products available in the stores that is too much speedy, or it is earlier than the competitors are able to do this. Well, this is possible in the for the products, for the companies that are offering technological products, are the companies that are offering some of the fashion products. Well, there is another option for organization to achieve competitive advantage by the way of managing its human resources. So we can take the examples of various airlines that are actually able to have competitive advantage by the way its employees deal the customers. So we can take the example of Southwest Airline, we can take the example of Singapore Airline, that are actually that have actually achieved competitive advantage over the rival airlines just because of the way their human resources treats or deals with their customers. So actually these organizations like Southwest Airlines or Singapore Airlines, they have actually kept their employees loyal, motivated, and well trained with themselves. So in return, these employees are satisfied. So in return, these organizations are able to have a high amount of profits, high level of profits, as well as these organizations are facing very low level of employee turnover. So we can say here that a company performance can be affected by the way of human resource management by actually converting its human resource its human capital or human resources into a competitive advantage. The condition is that this should be done on a sustainable basis. We can also show the importance of human resource management for company performance, because human resources are critical because of certain unique qualities. We can say that human resource is valuable because numerous organizations are there that are performing superior to than the rival organization, just because of its human resources that are performing their jobs, that are producing products and services that are excellent, that are superior to the products and services of their organization. So we can say that human resources are valuable for an organization because employees of an organization can actually determine the quality of products and services offered by an organization. The employees of an organization can actually contribute to the success of an organization, because we can see that human resource cannot be replaced by technology or by systems or by any measures. The second unique quality of human resource is that at times it becomes very rare. I am to show you. We can say that human resources becomes very rare. Organizations are not able to actually recruit and select human resources that are required to perform certain high-level jobs, certain jobs that are new. For example, the development of new softwares, the development of new operating systems, development of new technological products. So at times it becomes very difficult for an organization to hire such people who are proficient or who are actually knowledgeable with the new technologies or with the new techniques. Human resource or human capital actually have certain unique qualities, because we can say that human resource cannot be imitated. So first of all, if an organization is able to know that we are lagging behind the industry, the other firms are performing in a better way, and we are to do something in order to enhance our company performance. So this organization may be going for the intelligence of some of the competing firms. So this organization would be actually trying to know that how the competing firms are making difference than us. So first of all, it will have to identify that what are the which one is the department that is actually responsible for the superior performance of our rival firms. So it had to identify the department, it has to identify the employees, and then it has to identify the skills or knowledge of the employees who are actually responsible for the better performance of the competing firms. So the moment it has identified the skills of employees or the department for which these employees are working, it is not very easy that you are just going to train your employees and they would be simply performing the same functions at the same level that the employees of the rival firms are performing. So here you are required to train your human resources, and it would not be an easy job for you to train your human resources on a new tasks or on new behaviors, attitudes or skills in a quite short span of time. First of all, they may not be able to learn all of these tasks. Well, if they are able to learn and you are able to design a training program in order to actually make them to do all of the activities for your organization, so it would be a time consuming activity, and the moment you are able to actually train your employees to perform all of those functions or all of those tasks, the game would be over. So we can say that this human capital cannot be imitated, it cannot be copied. So before your rivals are making superior performance, then you are to actually have an eye on the environment, on the competition, and you are to decide that what are the new areas or what are the new technologies on which you are to actually train and develop your employees. Well, the last unique quality of human resource is that it has no substitutes. We can say that this HR has no substitutes. We cannot replace human resources or your employees by the way of technology, because if we take the example of some of the high-tech industries, like take the example of call center. If I actually came to know that my call is being handled by a machine, answering machine, so I would not be feeling good on that part. So we can say that human resources have human resources cannot be actually substituted by the way of machines or technology or something else. Well, all of the slides that we have discussed show that effective HRM, human resource management, may actually lead an organization to high performance work system. So students, what is this high performance work system? Actually, it is an organization in which technology, organizational structure, people and processes all work together to give an organization an advantage in the competitive environment. So here we have actually reached to the conclusion that effective HRM can be translated into high performance work systems, where actually different parts are different portions of an organization, technology, structure of an organization, its workforce and different work processes all actually work in a synergetic way that gives an organization an advantage over the competitors. So here we can see that the effective management of human resources can be translated or can be converted into competitive advantage for the organization. Well, here we have actually discussed that how effective human resource management can be converted into company performance. We can discuss here some of the examples that if the research shows that certain companies who are actually high on people focus perform better than the competitors, and they have lesser employee turnover rates. And in the same way, we can also say that organizations that have high level of this human resource practices, more qualitative human resource management practices than the rival firms. So this would be directly converted into the profit of an organization. So we can say that hire is a focus on people, or focus on human resource management practices. So this would be directly translated into organization performance in terms of customer satisfaction, in terms of profitability of the organization, in terms of productivity of employees, in terms of satisfaction of employees. So here we have actually discussed in detail that human resource management can be transferred into company performance, but the condition is that how much effectively the human resource management department is able to manage its employees, workforce, or human capital. So actually we can say that it is the human resource department that can translate, or that can determine the success or failure of any organization. Now we are going to discuss the objectives of human resource function. It may be taken as the objectives of human resource department. Well, human resource department is there to perform different activities, but what are the focus of the human resource function, or what are the overall objectives of human resource function or human resource department? So here the first focus or first objective of human resource department is that it is to help organization to reach its goals. Well, this human resource management is responsible to help the organization to achieve its overall objectives in terms of providing capable and talented human resources at the right time. It may contribute towards the towards the achievement of its goals by actually training and developing its employees. This is also, HRM is also responsible for the achievement of its overall goals by the means of actually checking the performance of its employees. This is a function of performance management. Well, actually by going through different functions of human resource management, this department is actually responsible to help the organization to achieve its overall goals. Well, we can see that second objective of this human resource function is to efficiently employing skills and abilities of the workforce. Efficiently employing skills and abilities of the workforce. Well, the human capital is there, employees are working for the organization. So who is responsible actually for the motivation, for the development, for the training, for the appraisal of employees, just for the sake of using their skills and abilities and knowledge of the talent? So we can say that this is the wholly solely responsibility of the human resource management department. So actually human resource management department would be making sure that organization is able to effectively using the skills and abilities of the workforce by taking different decisions. The decisions may be related with the recruitment of employees, with the selection of employees, with orientation of employees, their placement of employees. The decision may be related with the motivation of employees, and the decisions may be related with the training and development of employees. This HRM is actually responsible for the utilization of employee skills and abilities by the mechanism of performance management. Here this HRM would be actually measuring the performance of its employees over on annual basis. It may be on quarterly basis. So that the employees may be compensated on the basis of their performance for the organization, so that they see a fair and equitable work environment from the point of view of the organization. So in this way, by taking the assessment or appraisal of the performance of its employees, actually HRM is going to make employees to perform, to work for the organization by making the best use of the skills, abilities, and their knowledge. Here we can see that the third function, third objective of HRM function is to provide well-trained and well-motivated employees. So HRM is a sole responsible department of an organization to train its employees well. HRM is actually responsible for the assessment of any training needs. HRM would be designing training interventions, would be responsible to develop training intervention. Here, this HR department may seek the help of some of the other departments. By actually designing, developing training and evaluation of various training and development interventions, this human resource management department is actually there to provide well-trained workforce for the organization. HRM is also responsible to provide workforce that is well motivated. This is a little bit different than this training or than this job satisfaction. Well, employees would be motivated the moment they see that they have been treated fairly, the environment of an organization is just, there is equal treatment. So the way they see that all of us have been treated, my colleague is being treated on equal basis, so there would be no base for employees to see any sort of discrimination. So the moment they see that organization environment is fair, just, so employees would be motivated. So actually it is the responsibility of the human resource management department to keep its workforce motivated. Well, another objective of human resource function is to increase employee job satisfaction. Here, this is job satisfaction. Actually, the concept of job satisfaction, that you may have actually gone through this concept within your course of organizational behavior, that it is overall attitude of employee towards job. This actually include their attitude towards supervisor, attitude towards colleagues, attitude towards their working conditions, how they perceive the supervision from the boss, how they perceive their salary, how they perceive their growth opportunities. So it is an overall attitude of employees towards their job. So actually by introducing or by actually placing various systems, various policies, HRM department is responsible to increase the job satisfaction of its workforce. So the moment these employees are satisfied, we cannot say that they would be performing higher than the people who are dissatisfied. But there is a difference that a person who is dissatisfied and a person who is satisfied may be performing at the same level, but that there would be a difference of the behavior of the employee. So we can see actually remarkable difference the way a person who is satisfied delivers a service than a person who is dissatisfied delivers a service. So the people may be performing the job in the quantitatively on the same level, but there would be a hell of difference in terms of quality of the job or in terms of behavior of the employee on the job. So it is very much important for the organization to have satisfied employees, because satisfied employees would be actually responsible to keep the customers satisfied. If your employees are not satisfied, you cannot satisfy your customers. Well, another function, objective of human resource function or department is to achieve high quality of work life. Well, this is a bit different than the concept of this job satisfaction. This actually translates the perception of employees, that how they are being treated by the senior management, by the policies of the organization. How do they see the facilities provided by the organization? The facility may be of cafeteria, may be of fitness center. How their claims are handled, how they are actually treated by the superiors, how much flexibility they have within the organization. So the overall impression of the employees regarding the organization would be actually developing the perception of employees to for this quality of work life. So the HRM department is responsible to achieve a high quality work life for its employees in order to keep them satisfied and in order to make them to stay with the organization. Another objective of human resource management is to communicate human resource policies to all employees. This is actually communication of human resource policies to employees may be done by the web intranet, by the website of an organization, that is actually intranet. This may be done through the way of publishing a newsletter for the organization, and this human resource policies may be communicated to the employees through various means. It may be displaying notice boards, it may be by the means of sending emails, something like this. Communication of HRM policies also include the function of human resource department to interact with some other parties. It may be the union, it may be the interaction of the company or representation of the company to the government, the representation of the company, we can say, to some of the regulatory bodies, to some other external parties. The next objective of human resource function or department is to maintain ethical policies. This HRM department is responsible to maintain an environment that is ethical. It means that employees must perceive that they are being treated fairly. There is no discrimination against them. They are not discriminated on the basis of gender, on the basis of age, on the basis of their affiliation to any religious group, or based upon their affiliation towards any ethnic group. HRM is responsible to maintain an environment where employees are seeing that organization is treating or dealing or managing its employees on ethical basis. And it is also responsible that the behavior of the management, behavior of the organization with its employees is very much socially responsible. They are not actually ignoring any of the needs, their concerns, their motives. Actually, these employees must perceive that they are treated on socially responsible behavior, that organization actually consider them as human beings, not as machines or computers. Well, another objective of human resource management department is to manage change. Well, the change may be related with some introduction of some new plant, it may be new machinery. The management of change may be related with the introduction of new policies, introduction of some of the new processes within the organization. It may be the change in with respect to the organization structure. So actually change is to be resisted by the employees, by the people. So there is a role of human resource department to actually be a part of this change management wherever it is going to be implemented. Well, human resource management is responsible to manage increased urgency and faster cycle time. Actually, organizations are to compete within the environment, within the industries. This competition has now become global. There is faster modes of communication. So no organization can actually work in isolation, and they are to actually respond to all of the changes that are taking place in the environment. So in order to respond to all of these changes, the human resource management is required to go for faster cycle time with respect to hiring of human resources, with respect to training their human resources, with respect to placement decision, or with respect to development of their employees. So actually this faster cycle time with respect to some of the human resource functions would actually enable an organization to compete effectively within the environment. Now this was all about the function objectives of the human resource function. Now we have completed with this topic, objectives of human resource function. Now we are to discuss some of the activities or responsibilities of human resource management. All of the activities or responsibilities that are listed here do actually constitute the core activities of human resource department. These are the actual functions of human resource department. This actually composed of analysis and design of work. So the human resource department would be actually starting from this analysis of job and design of work. Well, analysis of job analysis actually says that it is a detailed or in-depth analysis of job, and it would be actually giving rise to two documents. This is job description and job specification. Well, students, we would be discussing these documents in some future lectures. Job design or design of work would be actually telling that what are the activities to be performed by a particular job. So this is a function, main function of human resource management, to analyze job and to design jobs. Then there is another core area, core activity of human resource department is recruitment and selection. So this you may be familiar with the recruitment and selection because you may have actually learned and studied these concepts in some basic or core courses. Well, recruitment is the activity performed by an organization to actually have a pool of applicants for its potential jobs. It is actually the process or activity whereby organization is going to create a pool of applicants that are potential who may be hired for the job that is under consideration. Selection is to make the final choice out of all of these available applicants. Then comes training and development. Here human resource department is responsible for the training and development of its employees. Well, there is a bit difference between training and development. Well, training is actually when the organization is actually going to impart certain skills, abilities, and knowledge for the employees in order to perform their current job. This is training. Job here, the organization is going to train them on the job-related skills, knowledge, and abilities. And regarding this development, this is actually inculcation or actual development of some of the skills, some of the abilities or knowledge that would be required by the employees in order to perform their future jobs. So this function, development function, is going to make their employees in order to perform effectively on some future jobs. Well, next function is of performance management. Activity of human resource management is performance management. Here, the department is responsible to check the performance of its employees on some routine basis, and on the basis of this performance appraisal, the organization would be actually taking some administration related decisions. These decisions may be to decide about their salaries, to decide about their promotion or transfer or something else. Well, in relation with this performance management, the organization, human resource management, is responsible to carry out this activity of compensation and benefits. This function is responsible to decide about how much to pay to these employees, to decide about the incentive bonus for employees, and to decide about what benefits the organization can administer in order to keep their workforce motivated. Well, these benefits may include health insurance, life insurance. These benefits may include residential services. These benefits may include some of the fitness centers, some other facilities like daycare center, or it may be cafeteria, or it may be it may also include some of the annual basis that is actually administered to all of the employees of an organization. Well, human resource management is actually responsible for employee relations. Actually, employee relations here, organization would be is required to interact with the employees of its employees of the organization. It is responsible, at times it is also responsible to deal or tackle with the union, how their compensation would be determined, and how they would be receiving bonuses, and how to take certain administration decision related with it may be related with transfer or promotion. Well, main activity of human resource management department is to prepare personnel policies. Well, personnel policies, actually the preparation of all of the policies are manuals that are kept by the organization to actually document or code its policies related with the human resource management. Well, this would be required by the organization in order to see that decisions are taken based upon the availability of personnel policies. The activities, out of the activities are responsibilities of human resource management is that this department is required to make compliance with the laws that are actually in place on behalf of federal or state government, on behalf of some of other state departments or regulatory agencies. So it is the basic responsibility of human resource management department to ensure that organization is complying with all of the laws that are actually regulating these this organization. Main activity of human resource management is to provide support for the strategy. This would be actually achieved by the way of planning human resources and actually extending a support for the organization to achieve its strategic objective. This is an overview of the activities or responsibility of the HRM function. Students, we would be discussing each and every activity that we have actually listed here throughout our course. Here we have had only an introduction of these activities. We will be discussing all of these activities in detail later on. Now we are to discuss the role of human resource management. We can see that there is administrative role of HRM actually is responsible for the taking care of day-to-day activities. It may be administering or preparing the pay slips of the employees. It may be taking the record of the leaves, or it may be actually keeping the policies or manuals of human resources in place or intact, or it may be actually sharing of human resource policies with the employees. This is administrative role, actually a short-term focus of HR department from the perspective of its activities. We can see that operational role of human resource management has some medium-term objectives. Here we can see the actually administration of HRM policy or compensation policies or the benefits policies. So how organization is actually taking care of its employees on a time span of 1 to 2 years. This may be actually management of its human resource policy. Strategic role of human resource management says that you are to actually play an important role by actually providing insight to the top management from the perspective of human resource management. This may be actually planning for compensation policies, planning for deciding benefits for the organizational employees. This may be the role of human aspect from the perspective of mergers and acquisition. This strategic role for HRM is actually a long-term goal. Here we are going to discuss some of the skills that are needed to be possessed by human resource management professionals. Here we can discuss that in order to be effective human resource professional, you must be possessing human relations skills. It means that to how much extent you can effectively manage relations, to how much extent you can work well with the employees. So this actually human relations skill says that you must be able to deal with the employees. You must be good at negotiation skills. You must be having good communication skills, and you must be able to deal with the employees who are annoyed with the companies of the policies. Then obviously the HRM professionals do possess this decision-making skills, because at times you may be required to take decisions on certain short-term basis to hire people, or you may be required to take decision regarding the termination of employee on short-term basis. You may be required to decide about the compensation, or decide about the clearance of certain bills from the employees that are related to any of the health-related issue. So an effective manager, human resource manager, must be possessing this decision-making skills. Then obviously leadership skills are also important, that at times you may be required to perform certain leadership skills that we have discussed in the previous slide, that HRM is to perform the role of strategic. So here the actually participation of HRM department from the perspective of planning, HRM planning of compensation policies, benefits policies, and the participation of HRM from the perspective of mergers and acquisition can be taken from the perspective of this leadership role. HRM professional must be possessing this technical skills. The technical skills are actually related with the departmental operations of human resource management. So this human resource professional who is going to be effective, or who is going to show their performance, or who is going to make a difference for the organization, must possess technical skills. It means this. It means that this professional, HRM professional, must be knowing all of the techniques, all of the advancements in human resource area. It may be how to recruit potential employees for on a global basis, that what modes of recruitment you may be using, how you may select, or how you can conduct interviews on a high-tech solution. It may be through video conferencing. How you can actually design a compensation and benefits plan that is actually taking care of some of the advancements within this area. Technical skills may also be taken with respect to your knowledge regarding the new methods available for performance appraisal, the advancement with respect to using human resource information system, that how the progressive organizations are actually managing or keeping record of employee attendance, their absence, their short leaves, or how they are actually being monitored by the mechanism of technology. So we can see here that effective HRM profession must be good at different skills. It is human relation skills, decision making skills, leadership skills, as well as technical skills, which is very much important in order to be effective within this human resource management area. Students, we have completed with lecture 1. Within this lecture, we have actually gone through the definition of HRM. We have actually said that it is a formal, it is a design of policies, practices, and systems that actually affect the behavior, motivation, and performance of employees in order to achieve organizational objectives. We have also discussed the importance of human resource management, that HRM is actually necessary. Some of the skills, basic skills or basic knowledge of HRM area must be possessed by the all managers employed in an organization. Then we have discussed human resource management and company performance. We have said that actually human resource management function can actually translate its human capital into a competitive advantage that is sustainable, and on the basis of this, a company may seek an edge over the competitors. Then we have also discussed some of the objective of human resource management function, that it includes that HRM should be helping organization to achieve its organization goals. HRM is responsible to keep its employees motivated, well-trained, to keep its employees satisfied, to create a quality of work life, and like these we have discussed all of these objectives of HRM function. We have then we have discussed the responsibilities of HRM function. This include the job analysis, job design, recruitment and selection, training and development. This includes performance management, and it may also include the actually ensuring that organization complying with all of the laws that are binding this organization. Then we have discussed roles of HRM, that here there are certain tactical roles, there are certain operational roles, and there are certain strategic roles to be performed by human resource manager. We have also, in the end, we have discussed some of the skills of human resource profession. That we said that human resource profession must be possessing some of the human relation skills, some of the decision making skills. Very necessarily, this human resource profession must be having leadership skill, and finally, human resource manager or human resource profession, in order to be effective, must be possessing technical skills, that is the skills related with the new advancements or technological development within the area of human resource management. Well, this was all about lecture 1, where we have had an introduction of human resource management. Students, thank you.